Hey guys, Erica here with the Child Care Directors Chair podcast. We are in beautiful, sunny Florida. As you know, we've been recording all day. I think we're on, interview 25 or so. I finally got some council members in the seats, and I'm going to ask some great questions that you might want to know what's going on behind the scenes. I'm going to give this gentleman an opportunity to just talk a little bit about who he is, the role that he has at the CDA, and then we'll get into it.
All right, well, thank you so much, Erica. My name is Andrew Davis. I am the Chief Operating Officer at the Council for Professional Recognition, and we issued the CDA credential. In my role, I oversee a number of things. So our entire credentialing department, our research and data teams, our brand experience and marketing team, our strategic alliances team, which includes our government relations and our partner relations as well. And then in the next year, I'll also be overseeing our IT stuff. So it's a lot there.
Yeah.
But I'm fortunate to work with an incredibly passionate team of people who care a lot about this work and really work hard and do a great job to address the hardest and most difficult issues in scaling and protecting the integrity of the CDA credential.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you brought that up. So before we came on the show, I had asked the question. So I guess we'll just share it here so people can have a better understanding as we're moving forward into the future. So I had some staff that just recently earned their CDAs. Super proud of them. Shout out to my team. But they had found out that they were not getting a paper certificate, and they were a little saddened by that. So I, as I do in Erica fashion, just said, hey, here's a little feedback for you. So he explained a little bit to me about why they made that decision. So can you maybe just share with the listeners the changes and why they were necessary?
Yeah, so we see it as a kind of both and. I mean, historically, the moment someone completes the process, we would send them that beautiful gold embossed certificate, and that really was the evidence. Now, there was still a number in the background, but that was the main thing that people would use to prove that they have earned the CDA. And we have these campaigns where we show profiles of people holding up their new certificate, and it's a wonderful, wonderful part of the experience. In order to increase security, though, what we did was we started issuing digital credentials. This made it easier for people to validate and verify that they got an actual credential. And you'd be surprised how much fraud there is out there. I mean, there are sites where you can go order a CDA. I mean, the number of cease and desist letters that our attorneys have had to send to organizations who sell fake CDAs, it would surprise you, right? And so the compromise that we made is that if you earn your CDA, you can print out the certificate. It looks basically the same when you hold it up in a picture, but if you want one of the gold embossed ones, you would just have to place an order for that. And I think it was $30. I'm not sure, but
it wasn't a lot
to get the actual. If you wanted to hold it and frame it, it's a little change, I know, but in order to increase the security, cut down on the fraud, and protect the integrity of the over 1 million that we've already issued to date in our 50 years, we thought it was an important thing to do. And a rough trade-off in the initial stages. I think everyone will understand this.
I agree with that. So, thank you for sharing that. And this is why we love the behind the scenes of really what's going on and coming to conferences like this and getting to meet with the folks who are actually running the program, and the council is very, very rewarding to just know what's going on. So what is the council's current priorities in supporting ECE workforce?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I think one of the first things is trying to help clarify what the role is. I think one of the things that we have done is created a wonderful entry-level credential that in the CDA that gets the whole country has, for the most part, bought into. Right? It's recognized across states, and in many cases other countries as well. But we still haven't gotten to the point where there's really absolute role clarity. And what, in retrospect, what we feel like we are now in a position to do a better job at is saying, if you have a CDA, here is what you can do. This is your job description. And that job description should be consistent with whatever the entry-level accepted job description is for a child care worker, early childhood educator at that stage across the country. often it gets conflated with the training and professional development that goes into it. And this field has historically said, look, I don't care if, as long as you like kids, you're not going to harm them. Come on in. We'll coach you up. We'll train you up. We'll get you ready.
Yep.
And we'll invest in our professional development to be able to do that. But we haven't really had that floor. And so what we want to do is, first of all, shore up that floor in the way that we have our assessment process is strong, making sure that it's accessible, making sure that it's understood in all the communities where we work. So understanding that role clarity is big. But the second thing is we're also thinking about what's the next level and what would the CDA build on. And so we've introduced a concept called the CDP, the Child Development Professional, which really is, if the CDA is the best first step, the CDP is the best next step. And it's looking at, just from a credentialing standpoint, what do we need to assess and validate if a person is competent to do that job of, some states say lead teacher, some states say head teacher, whatever. But what do they need to be able to demonstrate to say that they can do that job competently? And a lot of times we conflate that with the training required to do something well. And I always use the analogy like a driver's license, right?
Yep.
You know, I want the CDA and the CDP even to be seen as the equivalent of a driver's license. If you have a valid driver's license, it's not telling me that you're a good driver. It's not telling me that you have the best driver's ed. It's telling me that you're a minimally competent driver. You might be a really good driver. It's not saying that you're not. But at least I know what you can do. And that's the thing that we haven't really said here in this field. We've depended on training to scaffold for us, and that's all over the place. And it's amazing, high-quality trainers, but what's the floor? And we're trying to say, like, let's just agree that the CDA is the floor, it's the entry level, and then let's establish what that next level is. And we just believe that as a council, we are the only ones really qualified to be the credentialing body for the early childhood education field. Because yes, education pathways are important, they're necessary, but what we do is something a little bit different, right? So we're not AA, BA. Those are necessary and important, but they're not job qualifiers. Why would you get a JD and then also have to take the bar exam? Right? Like, well, what's the difference in the thing about the job you're going to do? And that's the role that we play as that company.
How do you feel the CDA is adapting to the needs of modern early learning environments, because things are certainly changing?
Yeah, well, so it's 50
they've
years.
changed.
Right.
They're not changing, they have changed.
Yeah, it's a 50-year-old credential, and you know, what we do is we have a regular process of evaluating, is this job that we're assessing the right job? So we do what's called a job task analysis, and we refresh this every so often, every number of years. And when we say 3 to 5 years is our process, where we're checking to make sure the things that we are measuring as these competency goals, are they the right things that are reflective of what that professional needs to do in the field. And so we're in the process of doing that now. We're actually kicking off the same thing, that same process for the CDP, bringing in subject matter experts from around the country, around that are in the field doing that job at that level.
I know there are some states, and I should know the answer, so I should be embarrassed asking about it. I know some states have director credentials. Does the council have anything that would be maybe the ground floor for a director?
Not yet. That's a really good question. Not quite yet. You know, the tough thing about it is the more you learn about the credentialing space, like, what does it really mean to have a credential? I think you need 3 things. You need a person who has to have a job, right? Like, so a person who needs to do a job. You have whatever the standards are for that job, and you have some sort of validating environment. That once you get that credential, I'll recognize it and know that it means something. Many times have you been on like a site or LinkedIn or something, and you see someone who just got this certification in this or that, and you might not know the certified body, you know, but if somebody says, hey, I got a CPA, you're like, oh, I know what that is, because that comes from one place, right? And so that background to say, we've had people take the CDA and apply it for directors at times, and that's just not what it was created to do. But to create a new credential for directors, I think like there would need to be a really strong articulated need for it. In lieu of that, what you could do is have like really strong director training and teaching tracks around the skills that are needed there. But it's a role that needs to be credentialed in a way that says, here are the things that you need to be able to do consistently. I don't know that the field has really said that yet. And in fact,
But it hasn't. Let me tell you, it hasn't.
Yeah, right.
And it hasn't,
Yeah.
that's why I asked the question, because I speak to directors literally from all over the country all day long. And most of the time, they're really great teachers who have done a great job. Maybe they've got some buy-in from their teammates, and they do well with the parents, and they get promoted.
Yeah.
And there's not, and even if you go and get your associates in early ed, it's focused on teaching children. It's not really focused on the director piece. That's why I asked, because I feel like there is a need that people talk about. Not that necessarily needs to be a credential, but some kind of base floor that you can, instead of just getting pieces from all over the place and say, but I think I'm ready to go.
Have you also seen the thing where, like, someone who's a really good teacher, they get promoted into some lead role,
they fail.
and then they're like, expect their staff to do what they did as a teacher, and then they can't because that wasn't part of the job description. You just went above and beyond, and you expect other people to do that naturally as well. There's a lot to it, and like we said, things have changed.
Well,
we're not close to it, but it's not a thing that is on the immediate scale. I mean, when we think about the amount of things that we want to get done in the next year, 2 years, it is like we are full.
I'm sure.
But at the same time, we want to continue to be responsive to the field and whatever is needed, and you hear like a loud refrain about it. It's very similar to what we're doing with the Youth Development Associate credential now. We're converting the military school aids that we've been administering for them to a Youth Development Associate credential.
Which, by the way, those are my people.
Oh, yeah, the military?
School age.
School age.
I started in school age.
Oh, nice.
I love school age. Love school age. Yes, I love school age. So, what's being done to ensure that the CDA remains accessible for folks with diverse, candidates? And I mean, I see so much diversity here today. Like that was literally when we were talking with folks that I asked them what was some of their favorite things. For me, that was one of my favorite things. Just to see the diversity in here.
No, thanks for saying that. I mean, we take a great deal of pride in that. We need to make sure that the CDA remains a path of accessibility for whoever wants to help and work with young children, and their ability to demonstrate that they're ready to be able to do it. So we don't care what background it is, what language you speak, we want to be able to support all of those pathways. So what we're doing there, we had a full equity review of not only our competency standards, we had a full review during our what we call our reimagining process, where we did an assessment of where we're successful, where we're not, where there are gaps. And we found major gaps in some of our non-English speaking candidates. And so that requires us to look a lot deeper into what that process is. Is it in the testing? Is it in the access to training? Is it consistency in what's being told about the CDA process?
Well, you got some great vendors here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You got some great vendors there who are like, let's fill that need.
But it's a very big part of what we do, and we care about it. And we also right now are launching a differential study specifically for Spanish-speaking candidates to see how well are they performing. If there's a distinction between how someone performs in English and how someone performs in Spanish on the same items, how can we make sure that we eliminate the issues related to language to demonstrate those competencies? Because at the end of the day, we don't want to know how well you speak Arabic or Spanish or English. It's can you demonstrate these competencies? And if language is a barrier, we want to eliminate it. So it's one example of the types of things that we're doing, but we take it very seriously. And the more we hear the needs, the more we'll respond.
And you can't do everything, like you said. You're laser focused right now on what you already know. That's solid, and and building that. So I mean, you only can do what you can do at the time, right? Let's talk about partnerships. So how does the council partner with state agencies and training organizations? Because there's a lot of money being... Last week there was a lot of money, I don't know now, but there's a lot of money being put into early childhood education training. You hear about, the apprenticeship programs. I'm from Rhode Island. They were recognized for their apprenticeship program a few months ago. How are you guys working with those state agencies to maybe making sure there's more candidates? And
Yeah, great question. So I think there are like four major issues that we really try to work with states on.
Okay.
And the fifth one, I'll say up front, is the funding of it. But each of these things I'm going to talk about each have a funding component that goes with it. The first one is, what's the pipeline of prospective educators? Do you have a means of funding their training, their preparation through higher ed, whatever that is? The second thing is, how are you thinking about qualification levels for people? So if you have some tiered level of what's your entry level, what's your proficient level, what's your mastery level, how are you thinking about those levels? Then how do those things articulate into degree opportunities? Because while the levels speak to what you can do with the children in that learning environment, the opportunities speak to what's available for the educator beyond that. So does your CDA, does your system allow for articulation for someone who starts in one place to be able to use that and build towards a degree somewhere else? And then finally, we think about wages. What are you thinking about paying people at these respective levels?
Yeah.
And how can we help? So we've got a team led by Elisa Shepard, our VP of Strategic Alliances, focusing number one on government relations, and so thinking about all of those policy conversations. And the way that I just laid that out for you is how we think about leveling conversations with states, because they're all over the place. Some states will fund 2 of those buckets, some will fund 4, some will fund 3, some will fund all of them but don't have it all figured out yet. So there are all kinds of stages. And one of the things I said in the keynote this morning is that the early childhood education is a profession in progress, right? We're still trying to articulate to ourselves who we are and what it means to do this work. Right? We still, someone asked a question that wasn't intended to be a trick question the other day, but we kept talking about the field. And he said, well, who are you talking about when you say the field? And I was like, I'm not sure how to really answer that. I think when we talk about it, we know what we mean, but we don't really know what we mean. And it's one of those things where it's hard to articulate. So what we try to do is bring clarity around things that are very complex, maybe finding some through lines that are consistent everywhere so that we can have conversations that are apples to apples. We don't think ultimately that all states need to adapt or adopt a national credential. What I would love is, in my driver's license example, the same thing to be true, right? Like, you know that whatever state in the country you drive on is the right side of the road, stop at red lights, all of that. But, in Rhode Island, you might learn how to parallel park, but if you go to Iowa, you might not.
I don't mean to laugh. The reason I'm laughing, Annette is over there, yesterday, when we were in the hotel room last night, and we were talking about best practice, and I said, it is insane to me that best practice is best practice. So how is it different? How is your ratio this here and this there and your regular? I'm like, what is the standard? It's all over the place. And it's so hard. And as I go and talk with educators all over the place, I'm like, when they tell me like what the ratios are or what their regulations are, I'm like, what is the best practice? It can't keep being a moving target. And it shouldn't be dependent on what state you live in.
That's right.
Best practice is best practice. So I agree with this is the ground floor, and I think our whole system needs to be somewhat streamlined a little bit. It really does, so we're all speaking the same language, and it's different everywhere. I mean, we can't change the world all in one time, but I think, if we all use our voices, which is hence the podcast, these are important conversations, and we need to all work together to find some solutions that, that make sense. So as we wrap up, is there anything that I didn't ask you that you would like to leave with the listeners today?
Yeah, well, I just want to, first of all, thank you for this platform, for having these conversations. We don't often have these types of opportunities to talk about our field, so thank you for that. But I just want to everyone to know that while we're a 50-year-old credential and 40-year-old organization, the Council is committed to making sure that the CDA is alive, it is relevant, it is responsive to the needs of the communities today. If you ever thought that you could not reach out and talk to us as an organization, or that we're not receptive to that type of engagement, nothing could be further from the truth. Now, there are not that many of us, right? We're a small, mighty team, but we are very committed to and very interested in being responsive to how this solves the needs in each respective community. So, if nothing else, I just want to leave.
I want to say that I 100% agree with that. I don't think there's ever been a time that I have emailed Dr. Moore and he hasn't gotten back to me within hours, which is to me insane. That he is very respectful, and if he can't answer me, he'll say, I can't get to that. I'm wherever. I'll talk to you next week. So I would agree with that and feel like the council is very open. It is working really hard and is doing important work. So thank you from the educators for all you do.
Sure, absolutely.
All right.
Erica.
So guys, thank you for tuning in. As always, Child Care Directors Chair, where the leaders go and the leaders grow. See you later.